Okay, so I will set, the best way to explain that is I'll set a level in my head, like in my own head. I don't play my stuff, which is, I don't want people to hear this and not do this, because it's actually a good thing to, when you're creating, play it to some people you trust their ears, or if it's a video, show them the edit, you know, trust their, but usually that'll only be a small circle of people I trust to use their ears. But sometimes you've got to be very careful with it. So life is like, you know, most of my friends I play it to, you'll get genuine feedback. But if you just have them guys who are like, yeah, it's great, you know, just go with it, it's great, everything's great. But when someone says something, I've learned, I think you touched on this earlier, I've learned not to be so critical of what people say, because everyone is entitled to an actual opinion, especially if I've actually asked for an opinion. But I do set a level initially in my being the first listener. When we went back to saying earlier, I'm the first listener, I set a level in my head, and if it doesn't, where I'd say in the early years, like going back to maybe before 2007, when I gave you a mixtape and met you, there probably the level was a lot lower. So as I've kind of gone on, the level gets set higher every time. It doesn't, and sometimes that level I might think that level got to a peak where it never really goes any higher. But I think what comes with keeping making music, like the momentum, like when you do your videos, do you look at one and be like, oh, I could do that better, could ask her, you know, whatever. I think the beauty of it is that bar always getting higher, and I think that bar will always get higher the more you actually just create. If you just stagnate, you won't really, that bar will stay the same. That bar sometimes might even drop in your head, and then you know. So yeah, that's really the way I do it. I have this bar in my head that, you know, for people to visualize that, it just means that there's a certain standard to what I'm doing that I will organically know if that is to my standard. And then when it goes out, I know I set my bar at a standard that is to me it's high. To someone else it might not be, but I always think, if to you, like you said when you did your video, going back to your time, let me see but I'm just kind of making similarities, because I believe in what's the word? I'm throwing big words out there.
No, you believe in the transferability of the thought process. Yeah, creativity begets creativity in every field.
And so the connection and the is it synergy? It's like it's the way things are synced in processes. So like when you, like you said, you didn't really, the bar you had in your head for doing that video wasn't that high, but then the views were high, and yeah.
I gave the audience what they wanted, and you know, it wasn't what I wanted or needed, but again, that was a neat lesson. It teaches you again not to yell at your own audience for liking what they like, and going, hey man, you should just be grateful that you found an audience. But I want to touch on something, because just a little bit of an extension of what you mentioned there, because one of the things that I do, again, we'll try and transfer the experience a little bit here, is I will often look at not necessarily who's the best or the most popular, but I will look at methods, techniques, avenues, and say, right, who's got the best delivery? Who's got the best presentation? Who's got the whatever? And then I want to, right, how do you do that? And then, right, can I emulate it? Or can I adapt it? Or can I put my own spin on it? And you explore it from there. And look, sometimes this is part of the creator's path that no one wants to fucking tell you, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes it's a giant waste of time. It goes fucking nowhere. And you go, well, fuck, that was a day of my life I'll never get back. So I guess what I want to ask is, like, have you ever had those moments where you experimented and then had that war hit moment? And then, more pertinently, are there any avenues that you do explore yourself? Like when you look at, right, how can I push myself? Who am I looking at? Who's doing what? And can I borrow some of it, or do I like any of it, or do I think I could do what they're doing but better because they're missing something?
Yeah, if I'm ever going to do that, it's definitely no disrespect to the new stuff, like, you know, like new music and new artists, but I've got to be real. If I do need a bit of that, I'll go to the old stuff, because I feel like I touched on earlier that the bar in hip hop and lyricism, it got raised to a point that it never really, do you understand? Everything in music became so much far away from that. I kind of felt that I'm never really I'm not saying I'm never going to hear a rapper really inspire me again, but I do feel what comes with like, what's the word? What comes with like, it's even like, sometimes in fashion things can 360 round and like it just,
you're seeing that right now. The 2000s are making a motherfucking comeback,
yeah,
son.
that's it. The 2000 and the inspiration for like a new trainer that everyone loves, all these kids love. And another thing you touched on there is well, I'll go into this one as well, is that most of the best music, I'll give you some examples and you might know some of this, you might not, but you know the obvious song Eminem, hi, my name is one of the first ones really that he come out with, and he got really popular. That beat, that melody,
isn't it La Chifra or La Cifra? I forget what is it, but a really, really famous sort of lounge singing style act from the 60s or 70s.
Yeah, literally 60s and 70s. That beat, that whole sound of that song was from them.
Lifted like alloys of a car, my friend. I heard that and I couldn't fucking believe how little he changed.
Honestly, I've gone through some of them where, another classic example, when you were a kid, if you were from my era, and one of the biggest songs that came out of my time at middle school, probably I must have been 10, Gangsta's Paradise Trio.
Yeah, they taught that in music school where they said, hey, listen, I'm going to play you this thing. Heard it anywhere before? And they go, no. And then they go, play the tape. And you go, no, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. But you touched on it. There is certain rappers and artists who inspire me with that, who I might look to just to kind of get that. And they definitely will be older. Don't get me wrong, sometimes someone new might spear me with a bit of inspiration, but most times they will be older artists where I'll, kind of seek out a bit of that inspiration on what they did that was great in the 90s, in like the 2000s maybe. But I don't. But one thing you touched on as well, I don't try and this way you are better than me, Wes. I don't try and imitate, or what's a better word for imitation? Imitate, or because I don't
so
believe
the idea of emulating someone else, like you see someone, you go, oh man, wouldn't it be great if I could do that? But then the trick is, and this is my experience, isn't just to rip it off wholesale, because again, you lose that genuineness. You're trying to be someone else rather than what you should do, which is, look, how did they do that? Right. Why did they do that? What is the effect? Right. Let me think about that.